Angel Grove, California, a place where sunshine gleamed off high school windows and Zords once cast long shadows over city streets. A town where teenagers once saved the world on the regular, where monsters were defeated with explosions, teamwork, and morphing catchphrases. But under all the bright banners and legacy murals, a storm was slowly brewing. The people had grown complacent. Rita Repulsa was gone. Zed silent. The Rangers, though still vigilant, found themselves slipping back into the rhythms of teenage life. A new threat hadn't risen in nearly a year, and the morphin grid pulsed softly beneath the earth, like a dormant heartbeat. Then came the fog. It started on a Friday. A mist rolled through the backwoods of Angel Grove's outskirts. Thick, heavy, unnatural. It smelled like metal and rotting candy. A local mail carrier, Carl Jennings, was the first to disappear. Then a hiker found what looked like claw marks deep in a concrete wall near a storm drain. Then came the children, drawings of clowns with burning eyes, stories of a tiny man offering golden coins, tales of a talking doll staring at them from alleyways. Most thought it was pranks. The Rangers weren't even alerted, but then the bodies began to turn up. One man, face twisted in a rictus of fear, eyes clawed out. Another disemboweled and hung upside down like a butchered animal. And strangest of all, a Pizza Palace delivery driver who had somehow been killed by what looked like tiny footprints around the scene. The words "Playtime's over" carved into his pizza box. Alpha 5 intercepted the reports and brought them to Zordon. Ye Zordon, these signatures, they aren't from our world. Inside his tube, Zordon's voice deepened, layered with concern. Dark energies, not from the moon, not from the machine empire. Something older, cunning, insatiable. Meanwhile, deep in the sewers beneath Angel Grove, it stirred. Pennywise was here. He had come not by mistake, but by invitation, summoned by the growing lack of belief, the quiet fear that had crept into the hearts of the town as its heroes faded into myths. And this time, he wasn't alone. He opened the door, not metaphorical, but literal. A gateway formed from child screams, blood echoes, and forgotten stories. From that red-lit portal walked three shapes. Chucky, giggling, a kitchen knife stained, before he even fully stepped through. The leprechaun, gold coins jingling with every footstep, curses on his tongue. And Leatherface, breathing heavily, dragging his chainsaw across cement like it was an extension of his soul. Pennywise grinned. Welcome to the grid. Far above, lightning cracked across a cloudless sky. In the command center, Jason, Zack, Kimberly, Trini, and Billy stood before Zordon, tension radiating off them like static. Who do we fight this time? Jason asked. Monsters again? Zack joked nervously. No, Zordon replied grimly. This time, you fight fear itself. But they were already too late, because the horror was already home. The sun rose over Angel Grove, but it brought no warmth. The air felt off, heavy, charged with something unseen. The sky wasn't quite the right shade of blue. A creeping unease had taken hold of the town, the kind that made people avoid eye contact and keep their kids indoors. Jason could feel it. The other Rangers felt it too. At Angel Grove High, the team had regrouped. The classroom chatter that once hummed with energy now felt subdued. Whispers of recent disappearances filtered through the halls like ghost stories. Tommy was away training in another city, leaving the Core 5 alone to investigate. In the command center, Zordon's visage pulsed, dimly, flickering. The balance has shifted, he warned. What you face is unlike any threat before. These are not monsters from beyond. They are nightmares made flesh. Nightmares? Kimberly asked, gripping her morpher. Like dream monsters, No, Alpha 5 answered gravely. Worse. These are things from human fear, from stories. They exist only because people believe in them, but now they're real. Meanwhile, in the woods surrounding Angel Grove, the first massacre had already occurred. A group of campers, teenagers, trying to sneak away for a weekend of harmless fun, had made the mistake of venturing too far. First came the sound of bells jingling from nowhere, then the sudden squeals of a tricycle, then the buzz of a chainsaw ripping through canvas tents. What remained of the campsite was found by local authorities and quickly swept under the rug. But not before Billy intercepted the radio chatter. Zack paced. All right, so let me get this straight. We're dealing with a demonic clown, a possessed doll, a gold-obsessed leprechaun, and a dude with a chainsaw fetish. Trini, usually quiet, spoke up. It's not just that. These things, they aren't random. They're here for something. Something about the morphing grid. Zordon wouldn't be this scared if it wasn't connected. Down in the sewers, Pennywise plotted. Using his powers of fear, he manipulated the shadows, feeding the others, Chucky, Leatherface, and Leprechaun, visions of their enemies. Colorful warriors, teenagers with shiny coins. Pennywise hated them already. He reached into the city's collective subconscious. He whispered through radios, appeared in mirrors, laughed from under beds. Fear pulsed like a heartbeat, every scream strengthening him, every death opening the gateway wider. Chucky, bouncing his blade in hand, sneered, "So what? We just start slicing through high schoolers." "No," Pennywise growled. "We start with symbols, hope, order, trust. That's what makes them strong. We shatter it, then we devour the rest." And that's exactly what they did. Back above, the Rangers received a signal, a disturbance in the industrial sector. It was Kimberly who arrived first, vaulting off her cycle and sprinting into the warehouse, only to find herself face to face with Chucky. The possessed doll laughed. "Aren't you too old for toys?" Kimberly didn't wait. She morphed in an instant, blasting forward with a kick that sent Chucky flying. But from the shadows, Leatherface roared, chainsaw spinning. Jason and Zack arrived just in time to deflect the attack, but the sheer brutality of Leatherface shook them. This wasn't Rita's clay monsters. This was blood. The Rangers regrouped at the command center, breathing heavily, bruised. Kimberly wiped blood, not hers, off her helmet. "They're real," she whispered. "They bleed. They kill." Jason slammed his fist on the console. "Then we hit back harder." But Zordon shook his head. "These enemies feed off fear. You cannot face them with only force. You must understand them." Billy nodded. "We'll need data. Their origins, patterns, weaknesses." "We'll need backup," Zack muttered. Zordon was quiet. "There is no backup coming." A silence fell. The Rangers had never been more alone. But in the shadows of the night, something else stirred. A red balloon floated through the hallway of a hospital. A nurse saw it, followed it, only to be snatched into darkness. And on a nearby TV screen, a commercial played faintly. "Morphin' time? No. It's playtime now." The full moon hovered like a silent overseer above Angel Grove, casting an eerie glow that turned the once vibrant city into a portrait of dread. The streets were emptier now. The laughter of children was replaced by whispers behind closed doors. Something had shifted. Fear was now tangible. The Power Rangers had faced evil before, but never like this. These weren't space aliens trying to conquer the world. These were forces of horror, monsters born of folklore, death, and malevolence. brought to life by an unknown corruption seeping into the morphing grid. In the command center, Billy was hard at work trying to triangulate energy patterns. He discovered something. 4 distinct frequencies laced with dimensional decay, converging in the city's outskirts. Each signature matched a horror. Pennywise's frequency resonated with fear. Leatherface pulsed with primal rage. Leprechaun's energy felt chaotic, erratic, like greed itself. And Chucky? He was the worst of all. His presence masked, hidden, unpredictable. "They're not just invading," Billy said. "They're drawing something out of the morphing grid, feeding from it, corrupting it." Zordon appeared. "I fear the grid has been breached by a dimensional tear, a crack where nightmares leak in. We must close it, before their influence spreads beyond Earth." Across town, Pennywise was busy building a lair beneath Angel Grove High, feeding off the fear of students, teachers, even the walls themselves. Balloons floated through empty corridors, whispers echoing in vents. He saw the city as a playground, but he was still patient, feeding, growing stronger. In an abandoned theater, leprechauns sat atop a mountain of gold, stolen from banks, collectors, even Zordon's temporal vault. With every coin, his magic amplified. He began casting illusions, projecting nightmare versions of past Power Ranger enemies to distract and divide the team. And Chucky? He had a mission: infiltrate, corrupt, kill. He posed as a simple toy in a daycare, waiting, watching, planning. When the daycare workers began mysteriously vanishing, limbs discovered days later, the Rangers knew the horror had spread too far. But the most gruesome encounter came in the swamps near the outskirts. Zack and Trini had tracked Leatherface's trail. Bodies, torn apart, left as warnings. But they weren't prepared for the ambush. Leatherface came roaring out of the trees, chainsaw screaming like a banshee, slamming into Zack with bone-crushing force. Trini engaged in a vicious hand-to-hand brawl, her yellow armor scratched and bloodied as she dodged wild swings. Zack was down breathing, but broken. Trini didn't hesitate. Saber-toothed tiger! Her power dagger met chainsaw teeth. Sparks flew, and then silence. Leatherface retreated, wounded, but not dead. Back in the command center, morale was crumbling. Jason stared at the morphers, fists trembling. "We're not winning this." Kimberly approached, her face bruised but her eyes fierce. "Then we changed the game." Billy turned from his console. "I've located the breach. It's at the old amusement park. That's where it began. And if I'm right, they plan to use the corrupted grid to open it even wider." Jason nodded. "Then we end this, tonight." That night, the Rangers stormed the abandoned amusement park. It was a nightmare incarnate, balloons everywhere, carousel horses twisted into demonic visages, funhouse mirrors that didn't reflect truth but fear. There, standing atop the central stage, was Pennywise. He clapped slowly. "Welcome to the big show." From the shadows emerged the rest, Leatherface, chainsaw roaring. Leprechaun, chanting in an ancient tongue. Chucky, laughing manically as he launched forward. The battle began in chaos. Zack, still recovering, held his own with sheer grit, breaking Chucky's doll body in half, only for Chucky to leap onto his back, knife ready. Kimberly fired an arrow, pinning the doll to the wall momentarily. Jason and Trini fought side by side against Leatherface and Leprechaun, their moves coordinated, precise. Billy and Alpha hacked the park's power grid, trying to isolate the breach. But Pennywise was everywhere. He was smoke, mirrors, illusions. And then suddenly, solid as stone, grabbing Trini and pulling her into the funhouse. Jason followed, finding himself in a labyrinth of glass, mirrors reflecting his fears, his team dead, Earth burning, Zordon shattered. But he pushed forward. With a primal yell, he shattered every mirror, freeing Trini and unleashing a surge of light from his morpher that forced Pennywise into physical form. "We face fear every day," Jason said, "but we don't give in to it." The Rangers regrouped, surrounding the clown. For the first time, Pennywise looked uncertain. "We're not scared of you," Kimberly whispered, and with one unified cry, "It's morphin' time," they charged. A coordinated assault unlike any they'd ever executed. Kimberly's bow, Zack's axe, Billy's lance, Trini's daggers, Jason's sword, striking as one. Pennywise screamed, no longer as a monster, but as a thing unraveling. His form cracked, balloon skin popping. Billy triggered the power grid surge, and the breach began to close. The horrors howled as they were pulled back into the rift. Chucky clawing at the floor, Leprechaun screaming curses, Leatherface swinging blindly. One by one they were swallowed, and silence returned to Angel Grove. But the quiet didn't last. As the Rangers caught their breath, a final balloon drifted down. On it, written in red, "This isn't over." Jason crushed it beneath his boot, but in the shadows of the woods, a faint giggle echoed. Morning broke over Angel Grove, but it brought little comfort. The amusement park stood eerily quiet, bathed in the golden light of dawn, yet shadows still clung to the edges of the rides, and the air carried a coldness that no sunbeam could dispel. The Rangers had survived the night, but they all knew this wasn't over. Jason stood before the ruins of the carousel, where Pennywise had made his last stand. His red morpher was cracked, just like his nerves. They had fought monsters before, aliens, warlords, intergalactic tyrants, but nothing like this. This was evil rooted in primal terror, and it had left a scar not just on the city, but on their souls. In the command center, Zordon and Alpha 5 were hard at work scanning the dimensional rift. "Rangers," Zordon spoke with a solemn tone, "I fear the breach was never truly closed. The surge delayed their hold, but only temporarily. Something, or someone, is keeping the door open from the other side." Alpha beeped in frantic tones. "Aye-yee-yee! There's another spike in dark energy, coming from the mountains outside Angel Grove." Billy's eyes widened. "There's a mine shaft there, long abandoned, perfect place for a final stand." Jason nodded grimly. "Then let's finish this." The Mountain Asylum, a place that hadn't been touched since Rita Repulsa's initial awakening. Deep beneath the earth, the last tendrils of darkness pulsed with life. The villains had survived, twisted, mangled, but alive. Pennywise was regenerating slowly, his form weaker than before, but his smile still wide. Beside him, Leatherface sharpened his rusted chainsaw, the echoes screeching down the cavern walls. Leprechaun whispered spells to himself, gold eyes burning, and Chucky, as ever, stitched himself back together with stolen wire and spite. They weren't planning an attack. They were planning to summon something. Using the residual morphing grid, energy left in the breach, the monsters had begun to channel an ancient evil. Something far older than Zordon, a force of chaos, from a time before time. They called it the Red Eclipse. If summoned, it would merge their corrupted dimensions into one, a world of eternal horror. The final battle. The Rangers arrived just as the eclipse began. The moon turned blood red, casting the earth in crimson tones. Jason shouted, "Split up! We take them down one by one." Zack and Billy were the first to confront Chucky and Leprechaun. It was a chaotic fight. Chucky rigged explosives around the mine, forcing Billy to defuse them while Zack fought off the doll in the claustrophobic darkness. Eventually, Zack pinned Chucky beneath falling rubble, finally crushing him under a cave-in. Billy blasted Leprechaun's magic coins with a precision shot from his lance, causing a feedback surge that overloaded his powers. With a final scream, the imp exploded into dust. Kimberly and Trini faced Leatherface. The chainsaw-wielding monster fought like a rabid beast. Trini took a brutal hit to the shoulder, her armor splintering. But Kimberly used her environment, swinging from old mining cables to land precision shots that blinded him. Trini then delivered the final blow. Daggers plunged into his chest as they both collapsed, exhausted but victorious. Jason faced Pennywise alone. But this wasn't the Pennywise from the park. This was his true form. A spider-like creature made of pure nightmare, eyes swirling with madness. Jason struggled. His attacks barely slowed it down. Pennywise taunted him with visions, his worst fears. The Rangers dead, Zordon failing, Earth consumed. But Jason remembered who he was. A leader, a warrior, a Power Ranger. He slammed his sword into the ground, triggering a surge of power from the morphing grid itself. Light burst outward, burning Pennywise's illusions away. The Rangers regrouped just in time. Together, Jason called, and together they unleashed a full-power morphing grid blast, channeling their Zord's energy through their weapons. The cavern trembled, rocks shattered, and the red eclipse overhead shattered like glass. Pennywise screamed, his form unraveling, sucked back into the void from which he came. The rift sealed. Darkness was gone. Weeks passed. The city healed. Angel Grove began to forget the horrors that nearly consumed it. But the Rangers, they never would. Jason visited the park. It had been rebuilt, brighter than ever, filled with families once again. But one red balloon floated above the carousel. He reached for it, and it popped. Just the wind. Probably. In the command center, Zordon congratulated the team. You faced fear, and proved the strength of your hearts, not just as Rangers, but as humans. They nodded, but none smiled. They'd won, but they'd also seen what lurked behind the veil, and they knew. Somewhere out there, fear waits. A cave, dimly lit. From the rubble, a small doll's hand twitched. Chucky's eyes opened, glowing red. He whispered, "Round 2.